Hey, YouTube family. I hope that you are having an amazing day or evening or the beginning of your week, depending upon when you watch this. I hope that today is starting off well or going well for you. For those of you that are new to me, I am Nicolya Williams, and I am a personal development coach teaching busy women to conquer their chaos and accomplish their goals. And so, one of the things that I do as coaches is I help women that desire to write books or have a powerful message take that message and put it into a book and share it with the world. And I love this because I personally have written several books and really enjoy the process of writing, publishing, and marketing. Now, one really interesting fact about me is that I am a giant introvert. A lot of people misconstrue what the meaning of introvert means. They assume that an introvert means that you're shy or don't really like people. And that's not necessarily the case. The truth is, I gain my energy by being alone and doing things in solitary, like without people interrupting me. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't do social settings. That doesn't mean that I don't like people. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that I'm shy. It just means that after a long period of time, I can easily begin to feel drained, overwhelmed, frustrated, or irritable. And it's taken me years to learn that. I remember the first time I learned it, I was at a counselor conference and I went with a group of people from my job. And so we were having fun. There was like five or six of us and the morning was great. But I remember at the lunch hour, you were kind of free to go and do what you wanted to do. And they all wanted to do lunch together, which makes total sense, except for a person like me who kind of just wanted to um, get away. I wanted to sit in my car. I wanted to regroup. And it wasn't anything against any of the people I was with because all of them were great people. Just in that moment, I wanted to be alone. And so this year and the past several years, I've really worked on understanding who I am as a person so that I can be the best version of myself at all times. And so, for example, I don't like to put myself in situations where I'm constantly going to burn out easily. And so, me being aware of my limits, I know that there are alternatives. I went to a conference recently and I purposely didn't schedule a lunch hour with other people. I also spent the second half of the conference in a longer session, which was about 3 hours, and there was a lot more engagement. And so I took, a couple bathroom breaks by myself just to give myself an opportunity to regroup and refresh. I also didn't do a bunch of like social settings the day before, or the day after. And so just part of growing and developing in who I am, I've had to come to terms with that. And so one of the questions that I get quite often is how can you market your books as an introvert? And so I really want to touch base on that because there are 5 strategies that you can use to help market your book, even if you are an introvert like myself. I recently came back from Paris with my daughters and we had such an amazing time. I mean, it was amazing. And a lot of people on my social media assumed that I went there to market and to reach people and to connect. And while I think collaborating and networking are really important, I do think that there's a lot of value in just having a general vacation. And that's what I did. But when I came back and I started getting those questions of like, how did you get outside of your comfort zone and how did you talk to people? That's when I realized that there were more people that can relate to what it is that I'm experiencing. And I wanted to make sure that I shared my strategies that I use, not only with myself, but with my introvert clients as well. So again, like I stated, there are 5 different strategies you can use to market your book if you're an introvert. So the first strategy that I like to incorporate is generosity. So when you market your book, one of the best ways to really get your name and your book and everything out is to give people an opportunity to know you and to review the work that you've done. And so what I mean by generosity is for me personally, when I sell each of my books or market each of my books, I always give out 3 copies. I may do a raffle for people. I may give it out to someone that I think could really benefit from it that can't afford it. But there's a strategy behind it. And so when I'm giving out these books, I give them out to people that I think will have a good reach and also be able to leave a positive review. So with my last book, I gave it out to a woman at my church that's in a single moms group. When I gave this book out to her, it was an intentional strategy behind it because I was speaking to busy women and overwhelmed women. And so when she read the book, I knew that her reading that book was going to give an opportunity, one, for me to get a nice review, but two, also an opportunity for word of mouth, for her to reach out and start talking to other people within that ministry, within that group at church to share like, hey, this book really impacted me or this book really taught me this. And so while I was being generous to her and it was a blessing to her, it was also in return a blessing to me to get that book out there to other people that can relate to that or my ideal client. And so, as you're marketing, I really want to suggest generosity with your book. And that can go a lot of different ways. Like I stated, you can do raffles. I've done that before, where I've done online social media live sessions and talked about my book and talked about what it's going to be about and who it would benefit and what you can learn and those sort of things. And then when I have people join, I always say there's a free gift at the end. And then I may share the book to one person on there. Now, it may seem like a loss up front that you're giving this book out for free, but ultimately that person may love the book so much that they buy it for another person. They may leave you a positive review. Now you've had an opportunity for other people to join, so on and so forth. And so there's a strategy behind being generous, but it's also a blessing. The next thing is you have to pick a strategy that works for you. You have to know your limits and yourself. And that kind of goes with number one. For me personally, social media is safe. I can log on to social media, I can do a live, and then I can come back into my environment and have peace when I feel comfortable or when I'm done. I can prep myself up, hype myself up to be all engaged on social media for 30 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, and then again come back to where I'm comfortable. And so for social media, it's easy for me personally. Talking in front of a large group, in front of hundreds of people face to face, it feels a little bit overwhelming, and it feels a little bit insincere to me. I've done it, but it is overwhelming to admit. And so for me, talking in front of social media, it just feels like I'm talking on a computer. Even though I know that people will join, even though I know that people may watch the replay or share it, it still feels comfortable for me because I'm in my office, in my safe haven. And so you have to pick a strategy that works for you, whether that's blogging, whether that is that you talk in front of a large group of people, whether that's you use social media. Even if social media like live videos or YouTube videos aren't where you're comfortable, I still would highly suggest that you find some way to incorporate social media in your marketing. If that means you're writing posts, sharing pictures, asking other people to share, that sort of thing. And the reason that I think it's so important is because your reach is so much further with social media. Some of my closest clients and my most dedicated clients are people that aren't even in the same country as me. And so I've learned that social media is so much more powerful when I'm using it to my ability. The third strategy is to get a team. A lot of times we think that we can do it all. We want to cut costs. We want to cut corners. We don't want to like bring other people into it. Maybe we're really private, but sometimes getting a team behind you can really help to motivate you. Whether that's an accountability partner pushing you to step outside your comfort zone and market your book more, whether that's somebody that's on your team that's really like all about your book and going to promote it themselves. Maybe it's a person that just helps create the appointments for you to go to different speaking engagements because you're comfortable speaking, but you're just not comfortable arranging it. However that looks for you, creating a team is going to be extremely imperative to your overall success as you continue to market your book. And a team can take you a super long way. For me, when I was marketing my book, I was going to different environments such as local churches, local bookstores, things like that, and speaking. And then I realized that hiring a social media manager at that same time would be really helpful. And so in the beginning, I had a social media manager that was reaching out to people and messaging people and making sure my hashtags were on point, things like that, to really grow my social media following, but also still expand my reach. So then the fourth one is to create a great, and I don't mean just like a basic or a good, I mean great website. You want a website where people can come back and look and see who you are and what you're doing. There's such a thing as the know, like, and trust factor, and people want to know you, like you, and trust you. And once they know you, like you, and trust you, they're more likely to invest in you. And so if you create a website that has blogs or all about you, or different client testimonials, now people have an opportunity to see what your book has done, what you're capable of doing, how your book has changed people's lives, how interesting it is, or anything like that. And so it's an opportunity for people to really get to know you in a safe way. And then they'll take an opportunity to maybe take that next step and invest. And then the fifth one is to make yourself reachable, if that's so to speak, in a lot of different ways. And so one of the ways that I personally do that is within my books. On my final page, I always say, like, to follow up with the author, you can check me out across all social media platforms at Nicolya Williams. Or to follow up with the author, come to my website. For further questions or bookings, Here's my email. And so I allow myself to be within reach for those who are interested in learning more about what I have to offer or what's going to continue to happen from there forward. And so when you do that, you one seem more like human, like, wow, I could actually reach out and talk to her. But you also open up opportunities that you'd be unsuspecting of. And so those are the strategies that I have used very thoroughly, that have worked for me and where I'm at, and understanding who I am as a person without allowing myself to be overwhelmed. And another tip, when you're using social media, you can even use it in moderation. And so for me, when I was starting social media, I did a book tour on social media, and I did about 5 minutes each day with just little tips and nuggets. And so it allowed me to get comfortable speaking in front of a camera, in front of social media, but it also allowed kind of people to follow over time to see my consistency. And again, that goes back to the know, like, and trust factor, where they're given the opportunity to learn more about me and my patterns and routines, and also feeling like I'm relatable, that they can reach out and see. And so, and then finally with social media, you really want to make sure that you're present. The biggest thing is being consistent. And so you don't want to post on social media one day and then not post for another 2 years or another 6 months or another year. You want to be very, very consistent and always talking about your book if possible. And so those are the strategies that I'll use. I'll just run through them one more time so that you can remember what are some of the strategies. And you don't have to use all of them, but I gave you 5 different ones that could benefit you and benefit the growth and the marketing of your book. So you want to make sure that you're being generous. You want to pick a strategy that works for you, that makes you comfortable, that doesn't make you uncomfortable, push you too far away from who you are, so that you don't come off insincere. You want to consider having a team behind you. You want to have a great, not good and not okay, a great and thorough website. And then you want to make yourself reachable. Those are the strategies that I use. Please, if you're an introvert and you have more ideas or more strategies, feel free to share them below. I'm always open to learning what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I hope that the strategies that I shared today are good learning opportunities that you can now implement in your marketing process for overall success. So as always, guys, continue with clarity, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.